Welcome in, everybody, to Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage. This is our post-game show. I will try to get the energy up because right now we are all dealing with a giant punch to the gut, as are all U.S. fans, I think. 2-2 is the final, U.S. and Portugal. Portugal scoring at the death with a moment of genius from Cristiano Ronaldo, which they didn't have all game.
Final play of the game.
It came at the end, guys. Just give me your immediate take. What are you feeling right now as the letdown from that game?
Sure, the letdown is you didn't manage those final minute, that final 60 seconds well enough to avoid that goal. But overall, I think my feeling is just result. I would have been okay with the U.S. winning it, but I thought Portugal did enough overall to merit 2 goals in that game. I thought it was a fair result.
Yeah, it's probably a fair result. I think U.S. has to be disappointed, okay? They can talk about that it's a point and that they're still in good shape, and we'll get into that. They are in good shape, okay? But to have the lead in the waning moments of the match and to give it up just like that is very frustrating. But it was a game that was like that. It was a game that almost had lulls in it, and where it was slow, and then bam, moments of action, you know, and for both teams, moments of brilliance. So I thought both managers made some good subs. I thought that both teams tried to now tactically manage the game and deal with it in the right moments and trying to eliminate what the other team was doing, but still impose themselves. So
it was good strategy.
It was an awesome game, man. It was an awesome game.
I think the U.S. will not regret this about when it comes to qualifying out of the group, because I think they still have a good chance to do it, where it will come into play in the second round, where you had a chance to maybe finish first in the group and get a team like Algeria or even Russia, and now you have to maybe face Belgium in the second round as the second place team.
But that we're also jumping the gun, man. We've seen a lot of twists and turns, so who knows what the next one will look like.
Sure, if this tournament has taught us anything, it's that surprises come around every corner. We have a call already. I'm gonna go to the first call. Let me tell the audience out there, you can call in. The number's 212-481-1951. And since I didn't do it to start the show, I'll introduce our panel right now. Jesse Marsh, Simon Borg, if you have a question for them, or Greg Lawless, who is here as well with us, you can call us. Again, 212-481-1951. First caller on the phone right now is John. John, go ahead.
Hello, long-time listener, first-time caller, guys. This is John. I was hoping to get a little bit of insight on what you thought about going to a 5-man back line in the stoppage time and whether or not that caused the last goal.
All right, thanks, John. So going to the 5-man back line at the end of the game, we saw it against Nigeria. It didn't work. They gave up a goal in that game. Now we see it against Portugal. Omar Gonzalez subbed in as that 5th center back, nowhere to be seen when the ball was crossed into the box. You question tactics. What did it do to them? Did it affect the play at all?
Look, at that moment in time, the game is stretched, and guys are just trying to be in the right position best they can. Yep. And look, too many U.S. players were caught forward. You can't have Cristiano Ronaldo find that much space when you're trying to defend the lead, literally at the end of the game. It's unacceptable. Gonzalez was at midfield because he was, for some reason, tracking Eder, who won the ball off Michael Bradley, who tried to dribble through 3 guys, lost the ball. Bad play there, bad play by Gonzalez to be caught that high up. And then your back line is retreating, is chasing back, trying to find itself when they should be set. Am I wrong?
Well, no, but the strategy, I think, to put the extra center back in and one that you feel like is good in the air, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. I was a little perplexed on why they went with Omar Gonzalez instead of John Brooks, but that allows your outside back, because where they were getting at us is getting the ball down the wing and then now serving in crosses, and that was the only way that you felt like they were going to be dangerous. Mm-hmm. That's how they got the goal. But what that center back does is it spreads your back line a little bit, allows your outside backs to be a little bit more aggressive, defending one-on-one and closer to those players at those moments, and 3 big guys to win balls. So I don't disagree with the strategy.
But why was Gonzalez then so far up the field? That's what you have to question.
That I don't understand.
It should have been Beasler, Gonzalez, Cameron.
Unless he was told man mark Eder. That's the only reason that you can think maybe.
That would have been a surprise to me, because if you were going to man mark someone, again, I would have gone with Brooks on that, just because he's more athletic and can outrun somebody if they're coming back.
And if you're going to man mark somebody, you should probably do Cristiano Ronaldo.
Also a good point. I kind of want to talk about the formation that the U.S. used in this game was not what we expected. When we talked in pregame, we looked at a bunch of different variables of ways they can do it. What they ended up doing was a 4-5-1, packing the midfield against Portugal, being able to defend wider, which seemed like a good idea. And other than the Cameron miscue for that early goal, it seemed to work throughout the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did talk about it after the Ghana game that was a potential possibility. And you know, I've seen Clint play in that role and play in that spot and do a good job. And for the most part, I thought he did a very good job. And he held some balls up. He connected plays. He made the little play behind his back that led to the corner kick that led to the goal. Okay, So, I mean, I feel like he does a good job in that role. And again, then it allowed our outside guys to be a little bit wider to help deal with their wingers. And, you know, it has to be said, too, that switching Jermaine Jones over to the right to help deal with Ronaldo, I think, was a very good strategy and worked out pretty well.
Look, we questioned that lineup, the 4-5-1. I said it was promoting a more defensive stance by the U.S. Landon Donovan even went on TV, on ESPN before the game and said, this is promoting a more conservative approach. Yep. And it was far from it. Yeah. And it's all about the players and how they take, what approach they take with that formation. Their approach was clearly not defensive.
Well, the best thing that the U.S. did from an attacking perspective is when we started to play out of the back, we pushed our two outside midfielders up high, and now they came inside to catch balls, and our outside backs went. And because their outside wingers don't follow, it put the Portuguese outside back in a 2v1 situation where he was constantly guessing whether he should step with the midfielder or go with the runner.
So in hindsight, when we look at it now, it was a brilliant move.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it challenged. When we even talked about the ways to get at Portugal, we talked about the wings. And what it did is with the ball, it still allowed us to use those spaces and find 2v1 situations like we knew they could do, and Klinsmann saw the same thing.
The only issue I think you can point out, Alejandro Bedoya, starting the game. He was a non-factor, invisible in this game. And you wonder if maybe starting with Yedlin, I mean, that would have been tough for
that would have been a big jump. Because when he subbed in, you thought it was a big jump.
Who else could you have gone to in that spot? Because he was clearly not healthy.
Could go Brad Davis. So,
all right, guys.
Listen, Alejandro didn't have a huge imprint on the game, but he wasn't terrible. Okay, he still now played the role the right way, and so I don't look at it as the wrong decision.
All right, guys, I want to go to the next caller. Again, you can call. The number is 212-481-1951. We have Kieran on the line who has a question, I believe, about Michael Bradley. Go ahead, Kieran.
Okay, what's up, guys? How are you guys doing? It's Kieran. I'm wondering your guys' opinion on Michael Bradley in the Ghana game. During the stoppage time, he made a sloppy long ball to the Ghana players with time remaining that could have cost us the game potentially. And during this game, it was a lazy giveaway that that ended up with a Portugal goal. Do you think we should bench him and during the last minutes of the game, or?
I mean,
it's not going to result in bench.
Look, Michael Bradley, he made a couple bad passes towards the end of the Ghana game. He was on the end of the giveaway before Ronaldo scored. I don't know that you're going to bench Michael Bradley in any game or even take him out at the end. You want this to be learning experiences. You want him to come off of this and say, I am not going to make the same error again. I don't think you can bench him at the end of the game.
No,
right?
You're absolutely not benching him. And let's look, in fairness, he was triple teamed in that spot. Mm-hmm. And he should probably not walked into the triple team is maybe where you could point out. And my issue is the overall shape. The team was so stretched out, and that played into the hands of Portugal. You want your team to be a little more compact, not risk as much. And I think the U.S. was having so much joy was passing the ball around and holding possession that maybe they felt so overconfident at that time that they could do it some more.
I think that's exactly what happened, because the opportunity was there to just send the ball to the corner, let Chris Wondolowski run onto it, let someone run onto it, or let it go out of bounds, and just get everyone back with 20 seconds to go. So there had to be some sort of like, hey, maybe we can go get another goal here going through their minds, because Simon's right. They were moved up the field, and I don't think that's what you want to see at the end of the game if you're a coach, Justin.
No, and part of it's being stretched. Decisions that you make certainly in the middle of the field now get put under the microscope at the World Cup. And so, yeah, it's a bad loss. It's unfortunate that it leads to the play that it leads to. You're not going to – come on, reality is you're not going to bench Michael Bradley. Okay, that's just flat-out reality. He's still one of your best players.
Guys, we talked about the formation and also the end of the game, the errors. The substitutions that were made in the game, we even on the preview show, we questioned Klinsmann's roster a little, and we got a lot of questions about it in terms of he left off Eddie Johnson. He left off Terrence Boyd, the other options to back up Altidore. Klinsmann seemed to make the right lineup choices here. He seemed to make the right substitutions. I mean, even that Gonzalez one at the end, I don't know that you can fault that more than the mentality like we talked about. Are these decisions right? Why is everything going so right? I mean, we questioned it, but it seems to be playing out that the U.S. team that is here at the World Cup, maybe he made the right decisions.
Well, for sure I like the first two subs he made, and they proved to be very good ones. Yep. And I think one of Klinsmann's strengths is that he shows that he believes in his players. So when they go on the field, they're not clouded with doubt about what the coach thinks about them. They go on and they know that the coach believes 100% in them. So they're ready to run through a brick wall. So you got to give Klinsmann credit for that. And now you've seen different managers now trust young players in this World Cup and be rewarded for it. So the fact that he put on Yedlin, that was a pretty, took some cojones to make that decision, right? And it turned out to be a major factor in the game and the right decision. And then Wando came out and did a great job.
Yeah, and I thought there was an opportunity for Yedlin even one more time at the end to get down the field, and that was, I think, where they went to Bradley instead for the turnover in the middle of the field.
Look, we got to give credit to Jurgen Klinsmann so far. I mean, the tactics, he outcoached Paulo Bento in terms of tactics. So much so that, as you mentioned,
they changed the formation.
At halftime, they changed formation. Portugal went to a 4-4-2 because they were just getting abused wide.
Yes.
So they tried to get a little more help that way. And look, I think the U.S. outplayed Portugal for large stretches of the game, but their guys made a play when it counted at the end.
And let's give a lot of credit to the players, too, because to go down 1-0 in the manner in which they went down, a big mistake like that, they weren't scared. They didn't look shaky. They stuck with it. Cameron, too. Okay, Cameron made a big mistake, but he didn't seem phased. He still matched what the game needed. So, I think their credit should go all around. All around.
And look, the Cameron error that led to that first goal, I know people are going to say, Cameron, what are you doing? And I know a professional maybe, but that happens. It happens inside. I mean, it's going to happen.
It's just what happens at the World Cup. It's under the biggest microscope you can find.
And then some. All right, we have another caller on the line. I want to get to this caller. Again, I want to remind everyone, 212-481-1951 is the number. You can reach us if you have a question for any of the guys. And Nicole on the line. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, I was wondering if you guys thought that maybe the U.S. was a bit overconfident, thinking they were going to come out of this game with a win.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. Was the U.S. overconfident at the end? They seem to be playing that way. They seem to have kind of, loosened up a little, I think is the right word, right? I mean, they kind of got those big bug eyes where you're looking at the goal and you're saying, hey, we can scratch another one out of here, right?
And look, when you look at the chances Portugal got in that game, I mean, in the second half, you can count them on one hand. 2 chances maybe, an 80th minute shot from Nani, and then what else? Yeah. They were not dangerous, period. So, mentally maybe you're saying, this team's not going to hurt us. Cristiano Ronaldo's not going to hurt us.
Yeah, if you take out the last play, and if that gets handled a little differently, then will we be talking about them being overconfident? I don't think so. I think maybe now one play went against them, and it was a big play, and it cost them. So, I mean, it's hard for all of us to swallow how that game's finished. finishes. But I think the mentality and the approach and the way the guys played on the field and the belief they had in each other, I thought was fantastic.
Guys, let's take a look at the group standings now, because when you look at it, we mentioned this felt like a punch to the gut. Everybody's kind of in shock right now. But the U.S. still in decent shape here with 4 points. Ghana and Portugal, one of them has to win to get 4 points. So if either of them tie, the U.S. is through to the next round. If the U.S. tie Germany, they're through to the next round. I know we talked about this on the pregame show, and nobody thinks the U.S. and Germany are going to go into that game with a prearranged agreement.
Except for you.
Except for me.
Okay.
But I looked it up. I went back with our researcher between the pre-show and now, and we counted 6 times between 1994 and the last World Cup where two teams who needed a draw on the last day to both advance happened to get a draw. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying there's going to be a text. I'm not saying there's going to be a handshake behind closed doors. But it could end up in a
it
draw.
happened 6 times out of how many potential
It was
scenarios?
out of like 8 or 9
Did
times.
you
It
check
happened-
phone records?
I didn't, and I don't care. I don't want to know how it happens.
Well,
I just want the end of the game to have a 1-1 scoreline, a 0-0 scoreline, etc. The point here, though, is the U.S. are not in bad shape. I mean, there are a lot more results that get the U.S. through to the next round than there are that send them out.
We talked about this in the pregame show that if they get a draw, which they did, which Simon didn't think they would get, I might add, by the way, because of the dark cloud, that they could lose against Germany and still advance. And that's, they could lose 2-0 to Germany and still advance. So they're not going to go in with that mentality. I understand it's another game that you go in to win. But the reality is they sit in really good shape. Really good shape. If the other game's a draw, they're through.
And I think you have to start looking at the second round. I mean, if you're ambitious enough and you want to look at what opponents you might get in the second round, yeah, Belgium, if you finish second, is a harder opponent than anyone you're going to get. And there's such a drop-off in that Group H between Belgium and the rest of the field that you want to finish first.
For sure. And listen, it's again, game to game, all right? So this game's done. You heard Klinsmann say after the game, we're already moving on to Germany. They're going to come up with a game plan. They're going to find out who's healthy, who's ready to go. They're going to get the tactics right, and they're going to go into that game, and they're going to go for a win, as they should.
Look, I mean, when you look at that Germany game now, looking ahead, we saw them world beaters against Portugal in the first match. Against Ghana, they had a much tougher time. How do you see this matchup with the U.S. going when they meet on Thursday? Is the U.S. closer to doing what Ghana did, or are they closer to doing what Portugal did against this German team?
Well, I think one of the biggest factors, and I don't understand why the World Cup does this, but the fact that we have to play in the Amazon a day later than Germany puts us at a major disadvantage. I mean, we're going to travel a long way. The word is that Germany can drive to their next location. So that is a major disadvantage. But again, I think that we just come out of it the right way, and we get the mentality right, and we go at this game.
And if you were listening to what Jurgen Klinsmann said after the game on ESPN, he says, yeah, well, that's the way FIFA does it because they want to let the favorites go through. That's the way they've designed it. He pointed it out, and he's not happy about it.
Guys, let's take the next caller. It's related to this. It's Phil again. 212-481-1951 is the number. Phil, go ahead.
Hi. How do you think the heat and humidity that the U.S. experienced in that game will affect them in the next game against Germany?
Thanks, Phil. Yeah,
mentally.
The heat and humidity that they dealt with in this game is a big deal when you look at the other game, especially on that shorter rest. Like you said, more travel. We saw Fabian Johnson come out and change his jersey. I mean, it was pretty bad out there. Jesse, when you're dealing with athletes like this and you're dealing with these games in a 2-week span, what can you do? I mean, if you're Jurgen Klinsmann now, do you have to start looking at potentially different starters in there for guys who, I mean, we saw Beasler go down with another leg cramp.
Beasley had an issue.
Is it a risk if you start Beasler against Germany at this point? I mean, do you have to go Brooks?
We don't know what the injury is.
Again,
No, that's what I'm saying, but you've seen him go down twice. You put him in a third game, again, short rest, tough matchup here. Do you have to think about, what I'm saying is, do you have to think about that going into the next game and say, hey, I don't want to have to burn a sub in the 20th minute?
Here's how you do this, okay? Immediately in the locker room, they have to now get themselves cooled down, get hydrated, protein shakes, all the rest. They need to get food in them as quickly as possible. They need to get their sleep cycles right. Like, the first 24 to 48 hours are the most important in terms of recovery, and they need to make sure that they're on it from the very first minute, which I'm sure that they will be. But then, yes, as you now start to look at preparation into the next game, you have to evaluate where guys are at. How are your older guys doing? What are your younger guys look like in training? Which guys in training have looked sharp, like they're ready to contribute? Given the tactics of what you're dealing with Germany, which guys can you count on the field? So, I don't expect to see a bunch of changes, but I think they have to evaluate and think about 1, 2, 3 changes that they feel like can inject some energy and some mental toughness into the group.
Jesse, when you look at the lineup that the U.S. put out today, is there one player who surprised you?
Well, I
thought Jermaine Jones had an excellent game.
Yes.
So did Beasler.
For me, I thought Beasler was damn good on the day. I don't think he made many mistakes. I thought he read a lot.
Yep,
I thought he tackled when he needed to tackle. He was in the right spots, cut out crosses, was good on crosses. I mean, it was almost a flawless game for him. So, and actually, when he went down, that was a major concern for me because I didn't think they were going to be able to find somebody to fill in how he's been playing.
Jesse, I kind of want to look at your take now. Everything we know, and there's a lot of question marks we talked about. We don't really know what the deal is with Matt Beasler. We don't really know the health of certain guys who went down in this game or were subbed out. We don't know when Josie's going to come back. But when you're looking at it, you look at what the U.S. team put out in this game. Now you look ahead towards that Germany game.
Yeah.
Go over to the touchboard with Greg and look at this lineup and tell me what your thoughts are here on what the lineup should look like as you go into the Germany match.
Well, so I think that let's start in the back and say that the Beasler-Cameron combination for the most part has been pretty solid, okay? Cameron makes a bad mistake but recovers. And so if both of those guys come out of the match, I think you'd think, all right, that pairing has worked.
Yeah, Beasler had a great game, let's be honest.
Yes.
Despite the injury and everything, he was able to have a tremendous game.
Over 2 games, you could argue Johnson's been our best player, so that's not changing. Bees got beat once early second half, but for the most part, he dealt with Nani in a really good way.
Right.
And so, I think that's a guy you can count on, as long as physically he comes out of the match okay.
Right.
The Beckerman-Jones combo in the defensive or in the center parts of the midfield has worked really well. And Beckerman's been very conservative with how he's played, but that's fine. We need somebody in there who understands his role, wants to give the ball to the guys that he knows can make a difference. Mostly Bradley tries to get him involved a lot. So I think that Beckerman's done a good job. And if Jermaine comes out of it okay, then that's another piece that I think you can count on. Bedoya now has had 2 games where he's had to put a lot of energy out, hasn't been his sharpest. I think you could consider something there. Michael, you just got to figure out how you're going to tilt him, how you're going to use him. Zusi, great assist. I think that's what you expect from Graham, okay?
Right.
Is there's going to be moments in the run of play where he can't necessarily physically match what the game is, but he's still capable of making a good play, and Clint will be ready to go, all right?
But the question is, against Germany, is this what you're doing again? Regardless of are you doing a formation with a 4-5-1 again? Are you going to try and play a similar strategy against Germany that you did against Portugal?
Well, what I think should give Klinsmann confidence is that Wando came in and played so well. And so I really think that if you're thinking that maybe Bedoya needs a break or that maybe this isn't the right game for him, that maybe you do decide to go with Wando. And because he looks so sharp, that maybe you give him a shot. And if you do that, then you can flatten the midfield a little bit more, drop Clint, you play a 4-4-1-1, drop Clint a little bit, see if you can get him involved in the attack a little bit more. So, those would be the thoughts on my mind.
All right, well, we got a call coming in. What do you got, Jay?
All right, let's take the call. We have Leo on the line. Leo, go ahead.
Hello, this is Leo in Seattle. I was wondering how much respect the Major League Soccer players earned today among the fans around the world.
Thanks for your call, Leo. The respect that the MLS players earned around the world, he says, that's an interesting way to put it. But
I wonder if he's referring to the goal, by the way.
Yeah, I think what you look at here is there is no difference between the MLS players and the other players. I think Jermaine Jones has been the best player for the U.S. team as a whole.
Yep.
But that said, there hasn't been a drop-off. There hasn't been one guy better than the other. The teams all kind of played at the same level. They've made some mistakes. They haven't. It hasn't been the prettiest at all times. But I would say that certainly there has to be respect for the talent out there.
On the second Dempsey goal, went to Yedlin. Then we had Bradley, Zusi, and Dempsey, all MLS guys. So, of course, MLS is going to get a lot of play from
Little
this game.
MLS pride there.
Yeah. Combined with Cahill's goals and performances, too. You know, I mean, there's good players from MLS.
Costa Rica, don't forget Giancarlo Gonzalez leading what is one of the best teams in the tournament now, as we're all kind of Costa Rica is everybody's second team right now, kind of pulling for them.
CONCACAF in general has been pretty strong.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
But now, when we look at this now game coming up against Germany, and you see where the U.S. is at and where you saw Germany at, what kind of matchup? Let's not get into it. We're going to have time to get into to the actual tactical matchup. But what moment are both teams in, and what kind of matchup? Is it going to be as even as we're imagining it to be?
Well, are you going to pick Germany in that game, or who are you picking? Please, for our sake, keep picking Germany. Yes. Or keep picking against the U.S.
Is it an even matchup, in your opinion?
No, it's not. But again...
It's not?
No, it's not. But if we play as a group, right, and we give everything we have and we commit ourselves to winning the little battles, each guy's now fighting through and winning his little battles, winning 50-50s, making sure that if one guy gets beat or gets down that the next guy's there for him. I mean, you saw when Timmy Howard missed the punch that like both Cameron and Beasler came over to him and still were like, great save, good job, you know, we can count on you. So that's the belief that we have in this team. That's who we are as American soccer players, and who we are as an American soccer team is there's belief in each other.
The one thing that Germany is, and I think a lot of people have pointed this, they're one of the deepest, if not the deepest team in the tournament. You look at them, they're having reports out of camp now that Sami Khedira might be out, Jerome Boateng might be out. Oh, so Schweinsteiger comes off the bench. I mean, this is a deep team. This is a very good team. I think what we found out tonight about the U.S. team is the U.S. has a couple more pieces than we thought, because I think DeAndre Yedlin was one of those guys who we didn't expect to see in the World Cup, along with Julian Green. Gets on the field, does a decent job. You look forward now to that Germany game, and we're going to have a preview, of course, for that game on Wednesday. We're also going to have a live post-game show after the Germany game, so you will be able to react with us like we did here. We'll take phone calls for that game as well. The game is early. It's a 12 o'clock game. It'll be over at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So you can tune into MLSsoccer.com, of course, just after 2 p.m. Eastern time for our live coverage of the postgame show, where we will, of course, take your phone calls again. Write down the phone number, 212-481-1951. I want to thank all the guys who stayed late with us on a Sunday. Is it a Sunday? I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. We're doing this every day. For Greg Lawless, Jesse Marsh, and Simon Borg, I'm Jason Seguini. Thanks again for joining us on Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage. We'll see you again during the week. Stay tuned to MLSsoccer.com for all your World Cup coverage.